Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the live show with Musart. Today I have a very unique guest. His name is Adam Kelwick, who is a Muslim chaplain and has opened a charity to help the crisis in Mosul. Let's introduce him now. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Before we ask you anything else, what is a Muslim chaplain?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for inviting me to this amazing show in this amazing setting. It's an honour to be here.
It's an honour to have you here.
Thank you.
And you've come all the way from Liverpool, and I really, really appreciate your time.
A Muslim chaplain is, if you can try and imagine it as almost like an imam, but outside of a mosque.
Okay.
So you'll have a Muslim chaplain in a hospital who looks after patients. You can have a Muslim chaplain in a university who's always there to deal with the needs of students. And you can also have a Muslim chaplain in lots of different settings. So the work what I've done as a Muslim chaplain is to offer pastoral care and support. I've been involved in hospitals before. I've also been the Muslim chaplain to the High Sheriff of Merseyside.
Wow.
This was 2015 to 2016.
Mashallah.
The High Sheriff of Merseyside is a very ancient order and a rank which is established. And the High Sheriff is the Queen's representative.
Wow.
In that region. Now the tradition is that they will have a chaplain. The chaplain to the High Sheriff is usually a Christian chaplain. Oh. However, in 2015, for the first time ever, we had a female Muslim High Sheriff, and so she invited me to serve her as her chaplain, and that's an invitation which I readily took up.
I saw your videos on YouTube regarding your journey as a chaplain, and also I just wanted to explain to the audience what it actually was. And also, mashallah, you're a Muslim revert. Your story is amazing. You became Muslim when you were 17?
That's right, more or less.
And you learned Arabic, and mashallah, you did Hifz of Quran, and also I think you give lots of lectures as well regarding Islam and characteristics and stuff like that. I think the other day you were doing one in the mosque. Is that your local mosque where you do it with, or?
Yeah, I'm involved in quite a few different centres and universities up and down the country, and even internationally. You know, I get invites quite often to different countries in Europe, and I try and spread a positive message. And the focus of my message is to kind of encourage people to think about the importance of coming together and cooperating and understanding that it's very, very natural for human beings in their nature to have differences anyway. Some of those differences might be religious, and even when we do have those religious differences, not to have those to be an excuse or a barrier for us to cooperate for the things which are in our common benefit and common good. That doesn't mean we pretend we're all the same. We're not. We're very, very different. But those differences don't have to impede us from doing work which is mutually beneficial.
Which another thing I think I've quite amazing in your video on YouTube was about you saying, I think as you become Muslim, it can be a bit difficult. You can become quite judgmental, saying you're not meant to be doing this, you're meant to do that. And then I think you said you took a bit of a step back, and when you did that, you got you got more deeper into Islam and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, understanding that no, this is not my duty. My duty is just be the character of the Prophet, like you said, of Muhammad of the Quran, like you said, as Atasha said, he's a walking, talking Quran. And I think as you started to apply that, you felt people were coming more coming more closer to you.
Yeah, I became Muslim myself in 1999, and then what happened after this journey develops, and it's a journey I'm still on, and everybody, whether you've converted or not, everybody's on this same journey, and the goal should ultimately be Allah.
Pleasing Allah.
Many people, they forget about this. It's really funny. You know, they get so involved in the journey that for some people the journey itself becomes the goal. And it's very easy to forget that the end goal is Allah. Nothing but Allah. Some people even, they're motivated only by Jannah. They want to go to paradise, just to go to heaven. For the people of faith, it's not even heaven which is the goal. It's Allah. So that's something important to remember. But after I did become Muslim, what happened up in Liverpool is that when people were converting to Islam in Liverpool...
You're quite young then as well.
I was in my late teens, I think, about 17, 18 years old.
You grew up as a Christian, I remember.
I was brought up as a Christian. I won't lie. I won't pretend I was the most religious of Christians, but I used to go to the church every now and then. It wasn't a weekly thing, if I'm honest. I used to go to Boys Brigade when I was younger and Sunday school every now and then, and I think I probably caused more trouble than than good. I'm just being honest. So I'm not going to pretend I was this perfect Christian believing boy. But what's happened since I've become Muslim is in fact I've learnt much more about the faith of Christianity, Christianity even. And I spend a lot of my time interacting with Christian leaders, and we have these amazing discussions, and we have this amazing dialogue. And I think for many people, especially in Liverpool, many of the Christian leaders there, the ones who are there now, the ones who've even moved on to different parts of the country, they used to love the coffee moments with me, and they'd really rack my brains, and they'd ask questions. And this is, I suppose, we can see in the Quran, when Allah tells us in the Quran that you will find the closest of people to you, as in Muslims, are those who say we are Nasara, we are Christians. And I think there's a special relationship. Muslims, by their nature, they respect all humans, regardless of their religious affiliation and what they choose to believe in. But I think there's a special relationship which we have with Christians, and that goes all the way back to the time of the Prophet ﷺ. We can see that the first people who confirmed that he was a prophet was actually a Christian monk, and then his wife. And he sent his Sahabas there
in protection to the church.
There you go, there you go. And it's a common theme throughout. Even last night I was just looking into one example of, it's called the Farman of Sultan Muhammad the Conqueror. Sorry to diverge you.
No, go. I love it.
So what you've got is this religious document, this Farman, this promise of protection by the Sultan, the Khalifa of the Ottoman Empire, who was an expansionist by every means of, even his name, Sultan Muhammad the Conqueror. However, even when he was conquering in the name of Islam politically, he was still giving religious minorities their rights, and he was taking an oath by Allah that any religious minority under his political control had to be respected and could not be abused either verbally or physically. Their monasteries could not be touched, their wealth could not be touched. And it was an oath which he took, and he said, no minister or no civil servant under my control, I swear by Allah, can offend the Christian minority. So this is through and through our tradition.
Yeah, but it's bringing out the fact that it's, and I feel like how media is portraying Islam now, it makes you really upset. It must dishearten you a lot how, now living in a Western society has become quite difficult, like proving that we are innocent. How would you answer that?
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. And also, once again, if we look historically, it's nothing new, really. Yeah. In fact, we've actually got it easier living in the West as Muslims than any generation has ever had it before. There would have been a time, if you arrived on these islands as a non-Christian, you would have had your head taken off. Yeah. So, looking at it from that perspective, things are really good. And in all honesty, I'm a person who's travelled extensively across Europe, across the world, and even in the UK, compared to many other European countries, compared to Western countries in general, we have it really, really, really good here. And I would invite people to, although we see these negative campaigns in the media, and although we see the rise of the far right, they are a handful. But not only are they a handful, but compared to everywhere else in the world, including many Muslim countries, we have it good here as Muslims. And I think that's something we need to first thank Allah for, and then secondly appreciate it and give service back. So
in your travels, have you never had any discrimination at all?
You see, the thing is with me, that means yes.
Okay.
Obstacles. I have had issues. One example. I've tried to visit Jerusalem on 4 different occasions. I've been detained for 8 hours, 12 hours, 4 days once. I was put in a cell for 4 nights in Tel Aviv.
Tenerife?
In Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv. Okay, I was saying Tenerife. What's your mom doing in Tenerife?
And so there are obstacles, but I'm a positive person. And the fact that I've tried again 4 times since then is, I'm a person who's determined. You were in the cell for 4 whole days? I've got nothing to hide. The reasons which they gave, the Israeli authorities, were security issues, which I think is a load of rubbish, and they know if all they have to do is do a few basic checks on me, they know I'm not a threat, and so I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue trying to go to Jerusalem, because as a Muslim, Jerusalem is very, very, very important to us. It's in our hearts.
Of course.
It's after Mecca and Medina. It's the third most important site in Islam for us, and nobody should be taking that right away from us, whether they're an occupying force, regardless of.
Yes. Also, mashallah, you were in London yesterday. Can we talk a bit about that? Why you came into London? I think you were saying about you getting a unity of charities together, of opening the awareness of what's happening around the world. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that's fine. So I was invited to an emergency briefing in the House of Commons, and we were discussing with senior politicians and representatives from DFID about the upcoming expected crisis in Somalia. So this was specifically to do with Somalia. And unfortunately, it's looking like there are signs that another famine, similar to what we saw in 2011, where 250,000 people lost their lives. Yeah. We're starting to see signs that we might have more droughts and similar situations. The point is, unfortunately, what happens is the livestock pass away first, the sheep and the goats. Nobody does anything. It's only when the human beings start passing away and people start to see the figures that people are urged to do something. However, we're at a critical point now where if action can be taken, especially by governments and large NGOs, to do some resilience projects which will put people in a position where they don't need to leave and live in camps for internally displaced people. They can stay where they are, deal with the droughts and get through it. But what needs to be done is we become more proactive as opposed to reactive. And so I was invited to be part of that forum, which was under the Muslim Charities Forum. The British government themselves, they recognise the generosity. They've recognised it right at the top of the government. Our former Prime Minister, David Cameron, he said, you know, our Muslims are the most generous people in our society. And so the British government recognises the generosity of the UK Muslim community. And so we have this Muslim Charities Forum, and the idea is to come out with a report which is going to be distributed to all of the major world players, all of the different NGOs who are operating in Somalia on the back of the emergency briefing yesterday.
If the whole world works like this, nobody would sleep hungry.
This is it. And we have the potential. We have the potential. And no matter how much that potential is held back from us, we shouldn't lose faith. We shouldn't lose hope. We should always keep positive and keep pushing. Because for as long as there's hope and possibility that it can happen, we have a good opinion of our Lord. We have a good opinion of everybody else, and we can do it. We can do it, inshallah.
Can I go a bit back to how when you accepted Islam and, mashallah, you were 17, 18, you said?
Yes.
And what was your wake-up call at that time? What was it, would you say?
It's a very, very long story. To cut a long story very, very short, I was introduced to the Quran.
I saw your father introduced you to it.
That's right. But I wasn't particularly looking for religion, if I'm honest. I wasn't like, oh, I need to become religious. I need to find God. It was kind of like, I was given a copy of the Quran in English. Surah Yusuf, the story of Joseph in particular, it kind of hit me.
I think that hits everybody.
Subhanallah.
There's something in that story.
Allah says right at the beginning, He says, we give to you the best of stories, the most beautiful of stories. And it really is. But for me, the thing which surprised me is because I didn't know much about Islam. I kind of assumed, and you'd be surprised, many people in our society also think the same. They don't think there's much difference in terms of theology and belief between Muslims, Hindus and Sikhs. Even though Muslims in terms of belief are much closer to Christians and Jews, many people in wider society think that we have similar faiths to Hindus and Sikhs. Why? Because of the geographical part of the world in which these communities have come from. So, for example, the majority of the Muslim community in the UK are made up of people of Pakistani, Bengali and Indian origins. And they're the same origins of Sikhs and Hindus also. So for those who don't know, they don't really differentiate between these things. And I was kind of in that basket. Even though I had a Muslim friend in school when I was growing up, I never really knew anything about the faith. And then here I am reading the Quran. And
you read it from back to front, or you just opened up to Surah Yusuf?
I can't remember. I don't think I did read it from front to back. I think what I used to do is just open it. And so I come across this story of Joseph, and I'm like, this is.
Did you know Arabic at that time?
No. Didn't know any Arabic, and I just found it really strange. And so I'm reading the story of Joseph and how he was thrown down the well by his brothers, and I'm thinking, this is what they used to teach us in Sunday school. And so then the question started. Now here's something, I haven't really spoken about this before. So this is a world exclusive.
I'm getting something new.
So when I was younger, and I think I was about maybe 10, 11 years old, don't ask me why, don't ask me how, but I kind of came to the conclusion about myself that I believe in God. I decided, I believe in God, but I don't believe in Jesus. That's kind of the conclusion what I came to. I believe in God, but I don't believe in Jesus.
You don't believe in Jesus, the Son of God, or you don't believe him?
No. I just decided that the way things were presented to me, it didn't make sense. So I thought, I believe in God, He's the creator. But this Jesus guy, what everybody's talking about, I don't believe in Him. But when I came to the story of Jesus in the Quran and the description, it was like, now this is a Jesus I can
relate
I can
to.
believe in. And that's why I said that my journey into Islam also gave me a bigger understanding of Christianity also. And I know many people, when they convert from Christianity to Islam, for them it can be kind of like a big turn, and they distance themselves from the Christian faith. I've been quite the opposite, and I'm really open. And as I said, because of the way the Quran teaches us, because of the example set by the Prophet Muhammad SAW, I really enjoy engaging with people, especially from the Christian tradition and other faith traditions as well.
So, Sud Yusuf obviously, just obviously awed you. That's the best way to put it. And I think every time, even us, every time you look at Sud Yusuf now, even no matter how many times you read it, I think you always take away something new. I believe that myself. I think every time you read that story, something hits you differently, isn't it? Yes. So obviously you took
Surah Yusuf.
Yes.
The biggest mistake what Hollywood ever made was not basing a film entirely on the different elements of Surah Yusuf. Even if they changed the names and the characters, if they based a Hollywood movie on all the different parts of Surah Yusuf, I'm telling you, it will be a blockbuster.
They made a cartoon with it already. Like,
okay,
I think, have you seen it, Prince of Egypt?
Yes.
No, Prince. That's the
I watched it with my kids.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called now.
Technicolor Dreamcore or something.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, my daughter loves that movie, even though they've done it well. And anyway, let's not talk too much about cartoons. Coming back to when you accepted Islam, what was your feeling then, like at that point when you took the Shahada?
I'll be honest.
Because you was in Yemen, weren't you?
No, I was here in the UK. I was in Sheffield, which is where I was born and brought up, Yorkshire born and Yorkshire bred, as they say.
Okay.
Yep. And I'll be honest, I experienced something which is very common for converts to experience, because I've done a lot of work since with people who converted to Islam. But there's a transition period which is needed.
Okay.
It's not easy to change your lifestyle completely. And being in my late teens in the UK, there are certain things which people are involved in terms of culture and lifestyle. And when you become Muslim, if you're to adhere to what Islam guides you towards, you've got to make some serious changes.
Of course.
What I always advise people who are becoming Muslim is take things step by step. Many people in the community, they'll have big expectations from you. They'll want you to change overnight. They'll want you to give up everything in one night. Now, what I say is opposite to that. I say do things step by step. Only give something up if you're able to keep away from it from the rest of your life. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to maintain it.
So were you worried about you had to change so much?
I was here. It's a transition period. You've got to change. And so, for example, you'd find me in the mosque praying. This is at the beginning for the first few months, even the first year and a half maybe. But then when I was going out of the mosque, I'd be going to places which it's not suitable to leave the mosque and go out to. But this is the kind of leeway which we need to give to people who have converted to Islam. We need to understand the journey, what they're on, and really be flexible with them. Not even converts, even the sons and daughters of people from Muslim families. We need to have a bit more mercy with them and understand that things which need to change.
It's patience as well.
It's lots of patience. It's lots of patience. So alhamdulillah, the transitional period. But the best thing for me is that I went over to Yemen.
You went straight away after you?
Not a short time after, maybe. So I became Muslim when I was 17, and I went over to Yemen in the year 2000.
Okay.
So just
with
over.
Your father?
No, I went over. I went over to meet some of my long lost relatives who never knew that I existed before, and that was.
Wasn't your father in Yemen at the time?
No, he was here in the UK. So I went over to Yemen, and that was amazing. I just turned up in my Lacoste tracksuit and my spiky hair, and I was walking around this ancient city of Sana'a, and everyone was staring at me. And back where I'm from, if you get stared at, it means they want to fight.
Really?
So I didn't understand the kind of cultural differences. And then we went up into the mountains, and that was it. But the environment which I went in, that really helped the change which I'm talking about. And me going to Yemen, that was basically, the environment was perfect for me to be able to naturally
evolve,
make all those changes in a way which is very comfortable.
Because you could hear the azan, the mosques going around.
Everybody prays 5 times a day.
No, but I think hearing azan, because every time I go to Pakistan and I hear the azan, I don't know, there's just a tranquility inside it that you're at peace, that you're belonging, and I think that's what it is, isn't it? I think here we don't have that because obviously of rulings of the government that you're not allowed to play the azan. But I think going back to your country and hearing the azan, I think that in itself is a very spiritual awakening, isn't it?
It is.
Even to a convert or a Muslim, you know.
The adhan has many secrets in it. I've been doing a course recently with the University of British Columbia, an online course on science and religion, and they even did some studies, and they noticed that when they do business dealings with traders in the markets in Morocco, while the adhan is being called, people are more trustworthy and more generous in their dealings. Yeah. Scientifically proven.
That's amazing.
That's just one element of what you're talking about, the secrets of the
after
adhan.
the azan is like, even the Prophet ﷺ said, if you after the azan, your prayers are answered, so ask a dua at the end. So you're in Yemen, in your shorts, Lacoste shorts, t-shirt, tracksuit bottoms. Wasn't it hard when you went?
Sana'a is the capital of Yemen. Yeah. I didn't stay there for long. We went down to the south and up into the mountains. But it was it was really nice. They say Sana'a, the old city of Sana'a, they say if our father Adam, peace be upon him, was to return to planet Earth, that's the only place he'd feel comfortable.
Really?
And the Yemenis as well, they claim...
Why is it
it's very, very beautiful, very old, and they say it's the oldest continually inhabited city in the world. Some people say it was founded by Sam, the son of Noah, but you kind of get all these claims and all these... but it's a very, very special place. And there's a mosque in the old city of Sana'a, which was actually ordered to be built by the Prophet ﷺ himself. He told Sayyidina Mu'adh bin Jabal to build that mosque. And that mosque is really it's a special place. Yeah.
Wow, I'm quite lucky. It's a nice place for you to go and have the transition. So when did you start to learn Arabic and stuff like that? Did you speak Arabic at all when you went?
No.
Did you read and write it?
No. So I went to Yemen and I was received by my cousin. When I say my cousin, you'll think, oh, it's his. I didn't know who he was. Never met him before, but he used to live in New York, and so he could speak English. And so he was my translator, and he was the one, when everybody was staring at me, I said to him, I'm going to go and knock him out. And he said, no, it's normal here, don't worry. Okay. So he was my kind of cultural language translator during the whole time, and he did so much for me. I even used to go and knock on his door at 6 o'clock in the morning and say, what does this word mean? What does this word? So he was my first Arabic teacher, if you like, in a very informal way. And from that, I just picked it up. I'm quite good with languages anyway, and I just picked it up.
So how long did you stay in Yemen at that time?
It was supposed to be a 2-week holiday during the summer break between my A-levels, the 2 years of my A-levels, and I loved it so much that I ended up extending the trip to 3 weeks, then 4 weeks, then 2 months, then 3 months. I ended up living there for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you got married then?
I got married there.
Wow, when did you get married?
I got married when I was 18.
Wow.
Which is even surprising to me, even when I think back. I remember I used to say when I was younger that I'm going to get married when I'm 35.
Okay.
And I'm not even 35 now.
Yes, I was saying.
And I've been married for over 15 years, and I've got 4 wonderful children. Allah protect them. And so yeah, subhanallah, it really was an amazing journey.
Wow. So, but obviously in the 2 years, you must have fluently started speaking Arabic and everything. And
well, yeah.
And like you said, the transition must have been much easier because you're in this environment.
Now, everybody knows in Yemen, unfortunately, one of the most popular parts of Yemeni culture is chewing a plant called qat. Have you heard of it? No. Okay, it's like a palm.
You know what a palm is?
Yeah. It's similar. It's a mild drug, in fact. It's got codamine in it. It's like a leaf. I think they have tobacco. Is it got tobacco inside and a little? Yep. I know the one. I think they roll it up and stick it in. Is that the same thing? It's not pan. It's something different. Okay. But it's very, very big in Yemeni culture. It's quite expensive as well. So yeah, and one of the villages where I was staying for a good few months, it's known that this village produces the best qat in the whole of Yemen. Okay. So everybody anywhere in Yemen, they desire this special kind of qat. It's, instead of green, it's almost red because of the strength of it. All right. And so every 2 years for the qat. And basically, in Yemeni culture, it's like going down to the pub here. You go down to the pub, not to get drunk, just to socialize with, yes. And same thing there. They have these gatherings. They sit down, they chew the qat, and every single gathering they will be saying, "Adam, come on, chew some qat." And I made a decision when I was in Yemen. If my willpower is strong enough to reject qat while I'm here in Yemen, then I'll be able to go back to England and I'll be able to reject everything what I was doing before, which is not in line with the Islamic ethos. And so I kept it up, and I managed to refuse to chew qat. You ask anybody in Yemen how difficult it is to live in Yemen, in the village which produces the best qat in the country.
Wow. So you never tried it once?
I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't. I really wanted to, if I'm honest.
Okay. To see
but
what the fuss was all about.
I knew that was my test. If I can keep away from this and fight the pressure, a lot of it was peer pressure, and oh, you're not a real Yemeni if you don't chew qat. Oh, you're not a real man if you don't chew qat. And I was there with the little watermelon seeds. They were all chewing qat, and I was, you know, biting away on the watermelon seeds, which irritates them as well, by the way, because they're really relaxed when they chew it. Right. But yeah, I managed to keep it up, and so far so good.
So when you came back, then obviously, like you said, then your willpower had grown. Another thing now, as much as we're loving to hear about Adam Kelwick's journey of Islam. The main reason why I have him today is when I saw his videos, mashallah, he's been helping the crisis in Mosul, which is what I want to raise awareness of today. Can we talk about that, please?
Yes, yes.
I have a few videos where, mashallah, you've started a charity, which is Just Give in Mosul.
The charity has been going for 25 years, for much longer. The particular campaign which I've been running on Just Giving is the one which I set up. But the charity has long been established in Iraq, and that's the reason why we're able to access parts of Mosul, parts of Iraq, which no other charities and international NGOs can even get the kinds of permissions to go as far in. Yes. As we did.
We have a footage of where the money is going towards, where you are giving out food to these people. I'd like to show that before we continue the conversation. We'll be right back.
Assalamu alaikum everybody, peace be upon you all. We're here at the moment at this registration point in Hammam al-Alil. This is on the western side of the Tigris River, and the conditions here are really, really, really terrible. This is the place where people who've just literally left the war in Mosul, every one of these people, the men, the women and the children, they had to risk their lives to escape, because if they were caught they would have been killed by the people on the ground in Mosul. It takes them 3 days to walk here, and we've been told horrific stories. We've been told that people have had to resort to eating dogs to stay alive. Once the people here, they leave Mosul, they have to walk for 2 to 3 days to get to a point which is close to here before they're brought, and then they go into the offices and they register with the United Nations as internally displaced people, and then they will be taken on these coaches to the camps which are on the outskirts of Mosul. The situation here, as I was saying, is really bad. We're here on the ground, Human Relief Foundation, providing hot meals to these people. Everything what these people have with them in their small sports bags is what they own now. They've had to leave their houses, they've had to leave their family, they've had to leave everything behind, and they do not own anything except which is in these small bags which they're carrying. So just come along with me and see the sights, what we're seeing, and I want you all to share and raise awareness of this. It's the forgotten humanitarian crisis. It's the ignored humanitarian crisis, and people need to know what's going on here. There's absolute destruction in Mosul, and these people are in a desperate situation. Let me just take you to where we're cooking our hot meals now. Depending on the intensity of the war and the fighting in Mosul, this registration camp will receive between 5 to 6, sometimes 12,000 people every day. And when the people arrive here, they're malnourished, they're hungry, they're thirsty, they don't have any support. And so that's why we're here on the ground providing the Hot Food Project. And I'm going to show you an example. Assalamu alaikum. So we're almost at lunchtime, and what you can see now in this tent. Assalamu alaikum. So this is an example of the hot meals which are going to be provided. What we've got is okra and meat and rice. This has been made for all of these families here, so they can have a hot meal after the horrible journey and the horrible experiences which they've been through. This is, there you go, you've got meat, you've got okra, you've got soup and you've got rice. So basically these people are going to have a decent meal after everything what they've been through. Earlier on I met with somebody working with UNICEF who is dealing with unaccompanied minors, and he was saying that he came across 3 children who came on their own. They found them, they took them back to their auntie, and the little girl described the situation. She said, when I was coming across the border, I saw a little girl dead on the floor who was being eaten by a dog. The children of Mosul are being eaten by dogs, and nobody's talking about this. Please support the work what we're doing. Please share this. Please raise awareness with everybody, because people need to intervene here and sort out the situation for the people on the ground. Thank you for everybody who's been supporting our work. All these people who are here at the registration point today will be getting a hot meal, inshallah. And so it's not everything, we're not solving all of their problems, but at least they will have a little more relief after everything that they've been through. May Allah make their journey easy, inshallah. And I hope that the place that they're going after this is a positive place, and a place which they can get a bit more respect. Please, brothers and sisters, share this with everybody. This is the condition, this is the state that these people are in. Please help us to help the people here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome back. I'm sure you saw that video, and it will tremble anybody's heart, especially with the children crying. Can you please elaborate on what's happening in Iraq?
The situation in Iraq in general is very unstable.
It's fragile as well.
It is. In Mosul in particular, they're going through a very, very challenging time at the moment. And so what you have is the Iraqi army, who unfortunately is not even made up of people representing the northern region of Mosul,
okay,
coming up, and they've been running a campaign for the last few months to rid the city of Mosul from the occupation of ISIS, the terrorist organization. And so what's happened is the eastern part of the city has been completely liberated from them. They've been pushed over to the western part. The western part of the city, which is divided by the river, is the oldest part of the city. And because of the nature of the way the old town is and the streets are, it's going to involve a very, very long and gruesome campaign to finish off the fight as it was. And so what you've got are airstrikes coming in from Western coalitions in areas where there are lots of civilians, and so you're seeing lots of deaths from that. You're seeing merciless tactics employed by the terrorists, and the locals are just fed up. They're really, really fed up.
So literally everyone's displaced right now.
Right now, over 300,000 people have left the city of Mosul, and they're living in tent cities on the outskirts where it's safe. And even the conditions there, we've been distributing food, emergency supplies to these camps as well. And the situation is really, really terrible. I mean, it's gotten to the point now where there are 3 different outcomes if you're a resident in Mosul. Number 1, you stay and put up with the continuous bombing day and night, and you don't know when the bomb is going to come on your building and your house. Or number 2, you can risk your life, because if you're caught by the terrorists, they'll kill you as well for trying to leave the city of Mosul. Number 3, if you're lucky enough to escape and go down the route and register as an internally displaced person, you'll be put into one of these camps. And the conditions there, we went there, we actually saw pictures of snakes and scorpions now which have infested these camps, and the camp managers were begging us to come up with some kind of fumigation project just to rid the camps of the snakes and the scorpions. And so it really, really is a terrible, terrible situation. Over 300,000 people have been displaced. So many people have been killed, and it's continuing. The numbers are only expected to rise and rise and rise. And unfortunately, the biggest shame, in my opinion, is that it's not in the media focus.
Yes.
There might be many reasons for that. Some of the reasons might be because certain countries are ashamed of their role in allowing things to get to this point anyway. But say, for example, when we saw a chemical attack in Syria last month, you know, we saw lots of media coverage of it, and rightly so, rightly so. However, when we see situations in Iraq, in Mosul, which are even worse than this, everybody's quiet. And so I really appreciate your invitation to come on your show tonight and raise awareness of this issue.
Yes.
And likewise, I'd like to ask for the viewers also to raise awareness of the situation. Even though I'm back from Mosul now, we have an amazing team of people on the ground who are still continuing the work, still continuing the projects. Since I've returned, so many of the issues which we identified, alhamdulillah, they've been solved. So for example, we've restored a full wing in the children's hospital. We've got beds which were cramped, and you know, children
we've got a video of that.
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, that's been sorted. We've got fans in the hospital wards. We've got air conditioning units fixed. At the point which we just saw in the clip before,
with the food.
Where people are arriving, we've got baby milk now being given out to mothers, because that's what their complaint was. You know, we've arrived, okay, you're giving us food, you're giving us water. We really appreciate that, but what about our infant babies who can't have this food? You know, so alhamdulillah, we're trying to solve.
How many people are in this camp?
This particular camp is just a pass-through. They receive anything between 500 to 12,000 people every day who are escaping the city of Mosul. For the people who are escaping the city of Mosul on foot, it takes them 3 days to walk by foot to get to this particular camp.
It's risking their life as well.
It is. That's where the United Nations registers them as internally displaced people and takes them to the camps. Don't forget, it's also a sensitive situation, because you might have people trying to abuse that as a means of escaping. So they have to vet people, they have to check people are who they say they are. And so it really, really is a terrible situation.
So how did you fly out there? That must have been scary. This is one thing I like to ask, and to be honest, hats off to everyone who does this, who actually goes there physically and does something to help the situation as much, you know, it's just amazing. How do you find that? I mean, like, isn't it scary? Like, how do you find a safe point to fly?
We actually flied, and we were based in the city of Erbil.
Okay.
Erbil is about 50 kilometers away. So what we do...
There's even a footage of you with the bombs in the back. Like, we could hear the drones.
Yeah.
You're still not safe. I remember in the video you're saying we're in a safe situation. I mean, you know, anybody would run a mile, and, you know, you're such a big inspiration to us for doing this. Mm-hmm. Can you explain, like, how? So you went to the city of Erbil, and
we were based in the city of Erbil, which is a relatively safe city. Okay. Very, very safe. It's the capital of the autonomous region of Kurdistan.
When you say it's safe, do you have the army guarding this?
No, it's fine. It's safe. There aren't any security issues in the city of Erbil. Okay. However, when we set off in towards Mosul, we have to go through different checkpoints. As I said before, because Human Relief Foundation has such a strong track record in Iraq, we have all the paperwork, we have the links with all the different people who needs to be have the links with. We have a designated security team. We're always in constant contact with them. If the security situation deteriorates, we will be evacuated. We'll withdraw as soon as possible. So even though it is it's not the safest situation to put oneself in, we still do have our procedures to make sure that we're not putting ourselves in any...
I must ask, how do you take looking at all this in front of you, the disaster? I think seeing it in the media is bad enough, but seeing it with your own bare eyes, how do you hold your emotions in?
I'll be honest. It's difficult enough to see the destroyed buildings when you go into Mosul. And to see, it's not just one here and one there. It's like every single building has been destroyed. And these are airstrikes as well. It's like somebody's been playing a computer game, which is what warfare has become nowadays. People sat behind a screen pressing buttons and then just seeing the effect on the screen. Yeah. They don't feel what it's like. So that's one thing, and it's very, very difficult to see that. But the thing which really affects a person is when you listen to the people themselves. Yeah, and so I've been acting as a translator between the women who just arrived from the city of Mosul and our female staff, Human Relief Foundation staff. And to be honest, I wasn't even translating properly for them because I couldn't tell. Oh. I couldn't bring myself. I was pausing. I had my sunglasses on, but I was crying behind my sunglasses. And then even coming back from that situation, every now and then you'll remember something which was said, and it is heavy. It is heavy, but it's got to be done. If we don't do it,
who's going to do it?
Who's going to do it?
So what gives you the energy for this? Like,
if I'm honest, the motivation is our messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Oh, yeah. Imagine.
The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was sent as a mercy to mankind, and I think that's what we're lacking at the moment. We're lacking mercy, And so,
saying that, we actually have this footage of when you're in this hospital of these distraught children. I like to show that to the viewers, and so it's just, you know, we live in a country where we have everything, and we are so ungrateful of what we have. Please see what these children are going through.
Assalamu alaikum, peace everybody. You're live in the Ibn al-Athir hospital in Mosul, and I'm really sorry to share this with you, but it's important that we let people know about the conditions here. You can probably see I'm sweating. This is a 10 meter by 10 meter ward, which is currently hosting 52 children. They've got a variety and a range of illnesses and conditions, and the facilities here are really, really basic. They're in a really bad condition. Just one example, as you can see here, there's a little boy called Salim. This is Salim. Salam alaikum, Salim. كيف حالك يا بطل? He's my friend. صديقي صح? This is my friend Salim. Unfortunately, he's in these conditions, receiving a blood transfusion, and his temperature is currently 40 degrees. He's really suffering. So there are 52 children in this ward. You can see it's packed out. It's chaotic. There are children everywhere crying, sharing their beds. It's really, really bad conditions. This small child, from the temperature of this room, Subhanallah, they have to put water on him every now and then to keep him cool, because there's no proper supplies here. There's only one oxygen machine in the entire ward. There are only a few incubators, not enough for what's needed for the children. So we ask Allah, inshallah. So we have all these children. There's only at the moment one oxygen machine which is used on this whole ward for all these children. The conditions here are really, really bad. Human Relief Foundation are currently opening a new wing on this hospital, which will be open on the Sunday coming, inshallah, which will bring some relief. And in the meantime, we've sent out some people to go and buy some fans and to fix the air conditioning units. And to fix the air conditioning units. So I'm really sorry to bring these distressing images to everybody, but these are the conditions at the Ibn al-Athir hospital in Mosul. These children have suffered all different kinds of conditions, subhanallah. May Allah give them all a speedy recovery, inshallah. May Allah give their parents patience and reward them for this hard work and all the horrors that they've been through and experienced. Subhanallah. Allah. Yeah, these are not conditions. Subhanallah. As you can see, the beds are packed with children. They're all sent. So as I said, I'm really sorry to be sharing these distressing images with you, but this is the reality on the ground here in Mosul. These people, they're in dire need of your help. This is actually in the eastern side of Mosul, where conditions are good. Never mind the western side of Mosul, which is terrible conditions now. So keep everybody here in your prayers. Alhamdulillah, we're being called out now onto the next place. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah yashfikum shifa ajil inshallah. ويثبتكم على الصبر. وسامحونا على التقصير ولا تنسونا من الدعاء. مرحبا مرحبا مرحبا. الآن يأتون بالمراوح. الآن يأتون بالمراوح. ويسووا صيانة للمكيفات والجناح يوم الأحد إن شاء الله تعالى. السلام عليكم. MashaAllah. So I've just had to walk out, and I've just told them that we're getting some fans for them to cool the whole room down straight away. We've got our guys gone to buy the fans, and we're also going to get a technician to come and fix the air conditioning units in there. And the bigger ward will be opening for them, which will make things a little bit better on Sunday, inshallah. And this is all through the project of Human Relief Foundation. What can I say? Please share this and get the message out. You know, all the news is talking about certain situations at the moment. In Mosul, it's terrible. It's a humanitarian disaster, a humanitarian crisis. You've got 300,000 displaced people outside Mosul, and you can understand why when the situation in Mosul is like what you've just seen now. It really, 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 really is a terrible situation. But alhamdulillah, we're here to spread life. Alhamdulillah, we're here to bring goodness and do as much help as we can. While we are on the ground, you guys make the most of us and make sure you support the projects, what we're doing, especially the food pack project, which we're on our way now to develop, where we will be giving food packs to the people in Mosul who need it the most, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome back, and I'm sure watching that video has given you shivers. Please, 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 the link's going to be at the bottom of the video today, and we're going to have even a pound is going to be helpful towards this cause. You know, it doesn't matter if you're Muslim, it doesn't matter if you're Christian, it doesn't matter, but it's just humanity. Seeing those children in that state, it's like there's not enough space. There was one child who's having a breathing problem, I remember, and also the heat conditions. Mashallah, now you're saying you have organised.
Alhamdulillah, the condition in that particular hospital is much better. There's still lots what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when we visited the hospital, now what happened is when the terrorists were forced out of the eastern part of Mosul, which is where that particular hospital is, they made it their job to burn down the children's hospital as they were leaving. And it was known it was not used for anything except treating leukemia and different types of cancer in children. That's what that hospital was for, and they burnt it down completely. And so
did the patients die as well?
The thing is, when we visited, what you've just seen in the clip there, the night before, it was bombed by drones from the same terrorists who are at the other side of the river, and they're still bombing, and they know full well it's a children's hospital. It was really, really sinister. But alhamdulillah, as I said, we've renovated a full wing now, so the conditions are much better. We're providing oxygen tanks, the oxygen masks for everybody who needs it for the next few months. And so conditions are going to have increased. But what's sometimes more difficult than seeing the children crying, who are like 4 packed into a little bed, is seeing the faces of the parents and how helpless that they feel. And it's the most natural thing in the world, whenever you see a child in that situation, to see your own children in their place. And it's one thing which I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing because
it's a good reminder. I know it's not a good reminder, but you can't even put it into words. It's like a reminder to say, to be grateful for what we have. Like, our children are safe, and why do what have these people deserve? Why do they deserve this? It's quite scary. It's like, you don't want that to happen to a child is an innocent being. It's like you're saying those terrorists throwing drones and stuff like that, like, are they not going to have children tomorrow? You never know. Allah is going to test these people.
The issue is we find ourselves in times where we put the news on and it's catastrophe after catastrophe.
Yeah.
We put social media on, it's gruesome picture after gruesome picture. And what happens is we become desensitized to it. And so what I encourage people to do is, whenever you see these numbers, 5 killed in this city, or 50 killed, or 100 killed, forget about the number, which is a few digits on a screen. You need to envision what that looks like. Yeah. How many of your relatives is that, and how many of your neighbors is that, and how many of the children in your local school is that? Because these are human beings at the end of the world, and just to reduce it to figures and statistics is heartless, and it's not from our tradition. Yeah. You know, we're told in the Quran time and time again the value of a single soul, a single life. Whoever takes one of these souls, it's as if they've taken the whole of humanity. Yes. That's how important human life is. And likewise, and this is where the motivation comes from as well, Allah says, and whoever saves one, it's as if they've saved the whole of humanity. That children's hospital, the doctor came to us, he said 6 children are losing their lives every single night because of the lack of the oxygen what we have in this ward. Alhamdulillah, people stepped forward, they donated, and we facilitated the oxygen. That's 6 human beings, 6 souls every night, never mind the other people who have been saved because of the better conditions there. So alhamdulillah, this is our motivation as well. You know, we don't know how many. Sometimes people like to see the figures. We will find out the figures, but maybe not in this life, inshallah.
Can I ask you a very deep question? I know you're saying, and I feel this as well, is that I think, you know, like, inspiration obviously comes from our Prophet Muhammad, his character, and deeming that as a Muslim. But what about those people who you see who would turn a blind eye? What kind of advice would you give them? Because I feel it's not very easy to get that level of iman. It's not. It takes quite a bit of training. It takes, I think, a lot of challenges in your life to wake up and see these things. So I see people every day, and I remember, and I see some of your profiles. I mean, like the posts you put up sometimes are like, people, you know, preach more than they do, like they've done in a lifetime. But it's like, how can you get that heart of, you know, unconditional understanding? How can you get to that level?
I think the question to those people who actively choose not to do anything is, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for something to happen to you and your family? And if you do, then who are you going to be waiting to get you out of the situation? Why don't you be that person now who's going to help you if, God forbid, you ever do find yourself in such a situation, why don't you be that person for somebody else now? And maybe, just maybe, when the time comes, you'll find somebody to do it for you. But this is another issue. You know, we talk a lot. We talk a lot, and people are impressed by talk, and a lot of the time the talk is just empty.
Yes.
And unless it's backed up by action, in fact, don't even back the talk up by action. Just do the action and stop talking.
Yeah.
And that's what really impacts. Now, what I don't want people to do is to be put off and think, oh no, I can't do that. I can't get the time off work. No, everybody can do something. Everybody is...
Even 1 act a month.
But this is the thing,
It's
everybody is many people look at me, they say, oh, the work you're doing is amazing, Adam, you're flying over there, you're putting yourself in this difficult situation.
One thing you mentioned as well, I think, as before the show, like you said, a lot of people say, oh, if you fly me over there, I will do it. And you said, no, it doesn't work like that.
They don't need to. Everybody can just review where they are right now and see how they can be part of an equation. When I was in Yemen, I was taught a very important lesson. And this was in relation to the gatherings of knowledge. But the lesson can be applied to anything, whether it's humanitarian work, whether it's community service. And the lesson is that when you go to a gathering of knowledge and you study with the shuyukh, you study with the scholars, the man who is responsible for pouring the coffee is just as important as the sheikh who's giving the class. If he didn't do his bit, then none of it would happen and you wouldn't get the same effect. And I think that's the mentality we need to have. Don't look down on a person. Know what you can do where you are. Some people think, oh, I need to give my job up and it's too much. I can't give that. No, stay in your job. Work out what you can do in your local community to help your local community. Work out how much you can give every month to help a cause. There is something what you can do exactly where you are right now without having to change your whole life.
Change, like even we will have spare change in our pocket. Just giving a pound.
Even not giving a pound, even sending a WhatsApp message to your family, honestly, or sharing a post on Facebook. Do it with big intentions. You don't know what impact you don't know what impact that can have.
It could impact someone.
Do it with the intention of saving somebody's life.
That's true.
Imagine that, just pressing the share button.
That's true.
Look how generous Allah is. He's given us these opportunities. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Ad-dalu ala al-khair kafa'ili." The one who guides others towards something good is exactly the same as the one who does it. So if everybody who's helped me and facilitated things for me on this journey over to Mosul, everybody gets the same reward as I do. Maybe I get even less because I'm publicizing it all, whereas they've done it in private and secret, and their reward might be greater with Allah.
I see there's some comments as well, which actually surprised me. Recently, when you did your video, I think you were showing the food that you were giving. Somebody commented, I won't say their name, it'd be better if this was done in private. And that just struck me in the sense that why are we such a human race now that we have to find something to judge, you know? And it really gets on my nerves. And it's like, okay, the reason he's recorded it is so you know. Not
just so you know, it's transparency as well for the people who've donated, so they can see where their donations have gone. However, at the same time,
how do you deal with sort of criticism? Does it
you've
brush it off?
With criticism, there are several things to do to deal with criticism in a way which is healthy. First of all, listen to it and see what they're saying, regardless of who it comes from, regardless of what intention you think they've got behind it. Listen to it because there might be some good advice in it, even if it's coming from your worst enemy. That's the first thing. And even when somebody is saying, why do you publicize everything? That's a good reminder for me to review exactly what I'm publicizing and exactly what needs to be kept quiet. You see, it's always good to keep you on your toes when criticizers do their criticizing. And secondly, don't let it affect you. Don't let it affect you negatively. Continue. For every one person who's criticizing, there are 1,000 people who are supporting the work.
If it doesn't, leave it.
This is it. But it's possible even to take the criticism and still not let it affect the positive impact what your work is doing.
We have to wrap up now, and I appreciate you so much for coming today. And inshallah, I pray that after we give the link today, please donate generously. Not even generously, you know, if you can't, a pound is enough. It doesn't matter. I'd like to ask Adam here, what is the one advice you would give to people that they can start applying today?
I think that the one piece of advice which I could give is coming on from what I was saying before. Work out what a person can do to serve others. this concept of service is a concept which is very, 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 very important. It might not even be helping people in different countries. It might be helping your neighbours. It might even be bringing relatives together who've fallen out. Work out what you can do to be a source of service to others, because everybody likes to be the one who's served. You know, when you go to a nice hotel, when you go to a nice event and they bring things to your table, that feeling what you have. But it's much more difficult for you to be the servant and you to do service to others. But at the same time, this is the way we were taught by our Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Especially in our country, here in the UK, serving other people, I think, is paramount, because not only does it bring benefit to everybody in community, but it also challenges all these statements and slogans of ignorance which are coming out from people who dislike the Muslim community and dislike our faith. We don't even need to argue with these people. We just put our heads down and do the action. So whether it's cleaning your local street, whether it's being involved in a homeless initiative, whether it's doing a small fundraiser between you and your family and using that money to help humanitarian projects like the work we're involved in, everybody can do something exactly where they are. Sit down, think about it, even get a pen and paper out and just have a little brainstorm. Speak to your children. Kids are very, 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 very clever in this particular area. Ask them, what do you think we could do to help people on our street, in our city, across the world? And maybe some great ideas will come about. And just make sure that you're a person who can put their heads down and be humble and be the servant, because we have this concept that whoever lowers themselves to Allah, Allah will raise them. So if you want to go up in life, if you want to be raised, bring yourself down.
Subhanallah. What beautiful advice. I think that's one of the best advices we had so far. Thank you so much for watching, and inshallah the link for the Mosul charity fundraising will be added in the caption. Please give whatever you can. You know, I don't know how you feel after watching the videos, but when I look at them, like Adam said, when you're there, obviously it's hard, but I think even us looking at it from behind our screens, it's a very hard thing to look at. So just imagine tomorrow you could be there. You know, na'uzubillah, I don't wish it on anyone, but we could all be put in such a situation that we don't wish to be in. And may Allah just bless us all and unite us as a Muslim community. Subhanallah. Ameen. Thank you for watching. Until next time.